How many came from an hour away?
2.5.
Okay. How many came from more than 2 hours away? 3 hours away. How many flew? Wow, so we all come from, as we can see, like different backgrounds and different distances, and it's just great that we all can be here today right now. So like I said, I don't have a PowerPoint. I'm just going to kind of fly through this, and I probably won't talk the entire 20 minutes or 15 minutes, but if you have extra questions, feel free to stop me and let me know. So I think I'm just going to talk about my story and my background on what brought me to love Japanese and the culture and the language, and how that kind of reflected into my career choices right now. So I'm going to fly back to when I was in maybe middle school. I was that kid playing. Does anyone remember the video game Goemon 64?
Yes.
You do? Yes, thank you. So yeah, right. So there's this video game called Goemon 64, and I remember sitting in front of my TV screen and just being fascinated by the idea that I could play this video game when I'm actually in Japan. Like, there's an actual map of Japan, you are traveling, you are flying from point to point to point, and you actually see the progression of your character develop over the course of the game with actual food and culture. So it was really cool, like, to me at the time. I was this young kid in middle school trying to find his way, and I was like, wow, this is so great. I really love that. So that kind of stuck with me. And I started high school, and I was really hoping that there would be an actual Japanese language portion that I'd be able to take there, but they didn't offer it, so unfortunately I took French. Now, did anyone take French here, or taking French? Okay, so I mean, I liked French. It was cool. I learned a lot from it, but from those that have taken French and Japanese, you can see there are obvious differences between them, right? A lot of differences. So I think my brain was just more wired to the actual Japanese language. So I took French in high school for 3 years, and it's okay. But then fast forward to college, where I attended Wittenberg University, like through over here. I had the opportunity to select Japanese as my language, which I was very excited for. And I should probably also say that I went into Wittenberg as a chemistry major. So very much like Drew, who had the physics engineering background, I had this kind of science-y background as well. And, but I still remember back from middle school, I had like this hankering for Japan. So I didn't forget about it, and Wittenberg gave me that opportunity. Actually, my Japanese professor is here today, so can I just have you give a little wave? So she is an amazing professor, and really kind of instilled with me my love of Japanese language and culture. So I took Japanese at Wittenberg for 4 years, and I made it my minor. So Japanese was my minor, and I still stuck through with chemistry and science, and majored in chemistry. What I really enjoyed with my experience at Wittenberg was my ability to study abroad. I think it is something that if you are in East Asian studies, a language, I mean, maybe not even Japanese, but if you're studying another country's culture, you should try and take the opportunity to study abroad, maybe for a month, maybe for a couple of months. It's very, very enlightening and it opens a lot of more doors, which I will get into in a couple of minutes. But I studied in Japan for 1 month with our communications and East Asian Studies department. They formed a cohesive, what do we call it? The Intercultural Communication Study. That's what it was, for 1 month. And I really give that experience a lot of credit for my continuing interest in Japan. Now you see, like I have the initial when I'm in middle school, and it's growing and growing and growing, and then I have this experience in Japan for a month that just, to me, felt like a scratch on the tip of an iceberg. So I continued my education, and I received some information about JET program. Now, has anyone heard about the JET program before? JET. So what the JET program is, for those that you don't know, it's the Japan Exchange Teaching Program, and they send recent college graduates overseas to teach in Japan for a year up to a maximum of about 5 years. So my Japanese instructors at the time highly recommended it to me. And you can think that, like, hey, I'm this like chemistry major, like why would you graduate college and go overseas for 2 years and not pursue anything in your science field? And to me, I didn't really think about that, but my parents sure did. So they were like, Neil, what are you doing? Like, why? You're a chemistry major, you're going to be looking for something in chemistry, right? And I'm like, I don't know, I think we're going to Japan for a year. Maybe more, maybe 5 years, how about that? And they're like, oh, okay. But, you know, I love my parents very much, and they've always supported me through everything I've done in my life. I was a collegiate swimmer for 4 years at Wittenberg. I was involved in acapella men's chorus group there for 4 years. So I had these opportunities given to me. My parents always sided with me, and they sided with my decision to pursue the JET program. So I applied to the program, I got accepted, and I taught in Japan for 2 years. I was an English instructor living in a small town of about 1,000 people. So it was very, very rural. I was the only foreigner there. I was pointed at, looked at, awed at, I don't know, like, it was such an amazing experience. I taught students from kindergarten all the way up until high school, and I will never forget what that experience taught me. And, you know, looking back on it now, I couldn't really understand what I had learned from it. Because, you know, you're over there and you're kind of gaining all of these, like, insights and experiences, but you don't know what you've learned until you've gotten back and started applying it to your life. So I only spent 2 years there, and then I came back, and then I was like, okay, what the heck now? Like, what do I do now? So I thought I'd revert back to my initial love of chemistry and science, and I applied for a quality control position with a biotech company, and I didn't really enjoy it that much. It was very repetitive. I didn't really feel like I was applying myself enough. It felt too routine. So I applied for an engineering position at another company, and I don't have an engineering background. Like, I don't have a degree, but the type of engineering that I do is called process engineering, and what a process engineer does is basically you lump every single department of a company kind of into one, and you write procedures for all of them that speaks to all of them. So it's a very, very cross-functional type of position, which is what I was looking for. I wanted to interact with people on a day-to-day basis. I wanted to leverage my ability to communicate amongst departments. I wanted to make an impact. I didn't want to be routine. So this position allowed me that opportunity, and I got the position, and I'm just about a year in right now, and I'm already starting to kind of grasp and understand what experience in Japan has given me. So I'm a very empathetic person. I see I feel like I can understand how people are feeling on a day-to-day basis, and I think that's really important. It's a very important skill to have in any company, any organization, any department, but how do you actually use it? So I think Japan really taught me how to leverage that empathetic skill that I have innately and I recognize, but I didn't understand how to use it in a business setting. So Affymetrix, where I work now, is a global company. We have our headquarters in Santa Clara, California. Manufacturing is in Cleveland of our reagents. And then we have another site in Singapore that manufactures our arrays. So we've got like these 3 different main headquarters there. So as you can see, we have people from all over the world, different backgrounds, different cultures. So it takes a kind of heightened sense of awareness and culture sensitivity to be able to understand and communicate effectively with these people. And I'm not saying that if you don't have these experiences, you can't do it, but it's certainly helped me. And so I think I touched a little bit on 3, on how my life would be different if I studied a different language instead of Japanese or no language at all. I really think that it allowed me to like lock into my sensitivity of other people. And let's see. So do we have anyone in here that is interested in biotech? Or I know that we talked a lot about software engineering, which actually I'm very interested in, so I may come up and talk to you afterwards. But yeah, so I do a lot of like database integration, validation, mechanical validation. Do we have anyone interested in that field in here? Any sort of, yes? Okay. What sort of engineering are you interested in? Chemical engineering? Yeah, so my other coworkers, they have a background in chemical engineering. So you can definitely come and talk to me. Okay, we've got some other
One of the kids was to Missouri University of Cleveland, and we have like the engineering and tech side of our university is very strong. We have a lot of students that are biomedical engineering and material science and, well, anyway, a lot of the medical applications of engineering. And could any of our students, they could kind of help you about?
Sure, absolutely.
I also wanted to ask, you said that you did disaster relief for the earthquake.
Yes.
Could you tell us a bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. So I did mention that I did study in Japan I studied for 1 month and taught for 2 years in Japan. Does everyone remember the 2011 earthquake? I'm sure. So my time over in Japan overlapped with that experience. So I was in Miyagi Prefecture, which is the hardest hit prefecture of the earthquake. So my town was in the mountains, so we didn't necessarily feel the full effects of the earthquake. But obviously, I had friends, I had coworkers, I had people I knew that were severely affected by this experience. So I had a friend that my sensei knows, Shunsuke, Michael Tamura-san. He was an exchange student at Wittenberg at the time, and I made that connection with him there. He wanted to do disaster relief up in the island of Oshima. So I decided to join him with that endeavor, and we went up north, and we stayed for a week, cleaning up Oshima, basically interacting with the community, ensuring, how can I say this the best way? It's very hard for me to talk about this because it's it was such a tremendous experience. What we did, we interacted with the culture and the community there, the students. We stayed at a community center, and we went through debris, we recovered belongings, we gave them back to their families. So it was a very difficult but great experience to have, to feel that I was giving back to a country that took me in at such a vulnerable time. So I really owe Japan and their people so much for being able to take care of me and basically being my